here, there's a man here. That's Kleenex.
I know, I'm just wanting to see who that is.
No, your mom, was see your mom real fast? And your dad?
I know they're with them.
Ben's right here. Ben's right here. Cleaned it off. I just cleaned it off.
I said he had the, I
That
said,
stone is, somebody left the stone. Oh, highway noise?
no, I don't mind that.
Well, yes, it's scared when they do themselves.
Bad here. And then I never did
Doing okay.
Who's that woman with the red shirt?
That's the official. That's Michelle. She can choose. I don't must be from I don't know that. Probably a lot of kids go like my brother's coming next year, the one
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. If you're willing and able to participate today as a pallbearer, I need 4 to 6 people to join me at the funeral post for her. Everyone else, I'll ask you to gather underneath the tent in the chairs and benches, and we'll escort the casket up to the graveside. Thank you.
Roy, why don't you sit next to the bar? There's a chair on the end.
Are you sure?
Yeah, there's an extra chair. Yeah.
Is there room though?
Yes. Sit with your mom. Sit with your mom.
Oh, of course. Oh, okay.
We buy it.
She's a big trip. No, but the one that I had there. Email? Yeah. Did he go help? I like the picture. Right? Actually, the color of that one. It's a good picture. I can't see. What are they fishing? No, they're by the water. I don't know.
You know. I'm still like the dentist. I still owe everybody. Oh my God.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Hello. If I could just ask everyone to please silence their cell phones if you haven't already.
The truck? Oh, there's a truck. Well, I'll sit if no one's going to sit.
Our service is about to begin. If everyone, if you're able to, please rise.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin today's services, I'd like to kindly remind you to silence your cell phones at this time as to not disrupt the services here today. Today we are here to honor a great man, and we will begin today's services with the rendering of military honors.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having us. It's our honor to be here. Veterans and service members are invited to render a final salute during taps. Bugler, sound taps.
celebrant, Miss Rose.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Wally Selan's family, it is my sad honor to welcome each of you with gratitude and appreciation for showing your support with your presence here today. We remember Wally by mourning our loss and by celebrating his life, by sharing this time together in a very personal experience. Martin, do you want to cut the ribbon, please?
I'll be wearing a clear ribbon if you'd like to stand.
You may be seated. Can everybody hear me okay? It is an ancient Jewish ritual to tear one's clothing when in mourning. Now we tear a ribbon representing the tear in our hearts at the loss of our beloved Wally. Just as the tear in the ribbon can never be repaired, so can the tear in our hearts never be repaired. Wearing the ribbon permits us to release our emotions and express to others that the fabric of our lives has been torn. We are here to think about Wally's life and what he meant to each of us, to share and honor our memories of him. It is true that we are gathered in sorrow, that our hearts are heavy with the sharp awareness of the change that his absence will make in our own lives. But as Khalil Gibran, a popular writer, reminds us, joy and sorrow sit as partners at our table, and that when you are sorrowful, look again into your heart, and you will see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. We who survive are the keepers of memory. Grief may return, not may, it will return at unexpected moments. A family event, a special life cycle transition, or even an ordinary day can bring an instant of sadness. And that is entirely as it should be, for we do not want to forget that Wally ever existed. At best, we become accustomed to the world without his active presence. An ancient Hebrew proverb tells us to say not in grief he is no more, but to live in thankfulness that he was. For that reason, thankful to have had Wally in our lives, we remember him as the cherished son of the late Jack and Alice Selan, as the beloved husband of the late June Bloom Selan, as the devoted father of Debbie and husband Robert Lerner, and Joel and wife Kim Selan, as a loving grandfather of Stephen and wife Danielle Lerner, Lisa and husband Michael Counts, Zach and Danny Selan, and great-grandchildren Hannah and Natalie Lerner and Alex Counts. Joel and Debbie have asked me to read a combination of two poems which they both liked, both entitled Remember Me, one written by Christina Rossetti, the other by an anonymous author. Both speak to the importance of remembering a loved one after their death, but also not to feel guilty if one forgets a loved one, so long as the loved one has made some permanent mark on the lives of others. Remember me. To the living I am gone. To the sorrowful I will never return. To the angry I was cheated. But to the happy I am at peace. And to the faithful I have never left. I cannot be seen, but I can be heard. Remember me when I am gone far away into the silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I half turn to go, yet turning to stay. Remember me when no more day by day you tell me of the future that you have planned. So as you stand upon a shore gazing at a beautiful sea, remember me. As you look in awe at a mighty forest and its grand majesty, remember me. As you look upon a flower and admire its simplicity, remember me. Only remember me. You understand it will be too late to counsel then or pray. Yet if you should forget me for a while and afterwards remember, do not grieve. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of the thoughts that once I had, better by far you should forget and smile than that you should remember and be sad. Remember me in your heart, your thoughts and your memories of the times we loved, the times we cried, the times we fought, the times we laughed. For if you always think of me, I will have never gone. I now invite Joel, Wally's son, to share his memories of his father. And it goes up to page 12.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody coming to honor my father. This is a little bit different of a speech. You'll figure it out. There's 6 very important people in my life that I'm going to mention here. On Tuesday, August 29th, my sister and I officially joined the Orphan Club. This is the special organization when you no longer have living parents. This is the time to remember our father and memories of our deceased relatives. Our family appreciates everyone who's able to attend, and especially the friends that are working behind the scenes for the Shiva today. And I would like to spend a few minutes remembering my parents and grandparents through my eyes. My dad's father, Jack, we called Opa, the German name for grandfather. It's quite a unique honor to say both your father and grandfather were distinguished veterans. My dad in the Korean War and the honors he was just given here. But my grandfather, Jack, served in World War I. Yes, I'm that old. And fortunately for all of us, he survived the massive bloodshed of that war as he was a cook. When he was 40, his family was uprooted by the horrors of Nazi fascism and had to restart his life over again in the United States. Learn a new language and start a business from scratch. He was, and we are extremely fortunate that a cousin in Chicago sponsored him, his wife we call Nana, his mother-in-law we called Oma, and my father to our country. My mom's dad, Lou, we called him Papa. Sound familiar, Rob? Papa died way too early when I was in middle school. He was fun, always in a good mood around us, followed sports, and we played catch. Most importantly, I sensed that he cherished his wife, Anne, and missed him dearly. I was fortunate that both my grandmothers lived a long life and knew them quite well, as they were in my mid-30s when they both passed away. My mother's mom, Grandma Anne, she and Papa endured the Great Depression. Until the very end, she struck me as a hard worker that made the best from what she had, lessons that I still remember today. She could always make ends meet, and when she was in her late 70s, she still washed the walls and floors in her apartment. I still remember her always wanting to sweep the 40-yard driveway of my parents' house. She always enjoyed being around our house on Sunday. I remember her willing to sew, help with chores, and encouraging us to study on those Sunday nights. I remember how grief-stricken that both Grandma and my mom were when Papa passed away. My dad's mother, Alice, we called her Nana. She was a Renaissance lady that loved life and enjoyed the company of others. She worked in the family business and ran the back office with diverse workers who reported to her. She always treated everyone with respect and dignity and kept my grandfather in check the best she could. Her passion was the temple, as this was a place to socialize with other German Jews. She was skilled enough to run the choir and played piano. With a chuckle and a tear, I remember Dad and her singing the national anthem many times. They sang a bit off key, but they were very patriotic to the core. Like my dad, she had a great sense of humor with both children and adults. My kids fondly remember all the outings with Nana. Mom, let's be frank. I was a mama's boy until I was a teenager. Nobody's laughing. I will let my daughter Danny, a mental health counselor, diagnose why, and we'll get back to you. I remember her as the leader of the house, great conversationalist with her when we were doing chores, including the dishes. Now you know why I didn't do the dishes, Kim. She was a hard worker and was the unspoken partner in my dad's business. My parents both respected each other and were passionate about the relationship until the end. One thing I learned in business school was that first impressions are the right impressions and don't second guess yourself. My parents were ecstatic when I started dating Kim. I'm still ecstatic about her 40 plus years later. Anyways, fortunately for me, I am still madly in love with my wife and have two great children, Zach and Danny, who are responsible and caring adults. Grandpa would have loved to meet your friends, I'll call them, and Mom and I certainly appreciate your friends that you have with you. I'll explain later what that means. Dad, first of all, he was an American, true and true. He migrated early enough to the U.S. early enough and had the perseverance to speak English flawlessly. In retrospect, he is a few years younger and from the same area as Germany as the Nobel Peace Prize winner, Henry Kissinger. But Dad worked hard enough to speak without the accent. To be candid, he was very intelligent, had great recall of details, but was not the textbook case of being organized. He enjoyed his life and was passionate about his family and fishing. I appreciate Debbie brought a couple of lures that we get to bury with him. He was that passionate about fishing. Anyways, like his mother, my Nana, he would love to laugh and put people young and old at ease with his own unique personality. Let me explain his love of fishing this way. The state of Wisconsin and the state of Minnesota both have 10,000 lakes. From my fading childhood memories, I swear we fished at least half of those lakes. From the age of 6 through 22, I worked part-time in my family's business, Walco, if you remember, as well as visiting the business on occasion after that. I was fortunate enough to meet a lot of Dad's customers and business associates. Everyone I met had very nice things to say about Dad. They didn't have to, but they wanted to. He was smart enough to double-check the details, pay his bills, and know that you don't do business with someone who is not ethical. My parents knew they didn't make any money until the customers paid for their merchandise. My dad was meant to run his own business because he wanted to work on his own schedule. Yes, he had the occasional siesta or nap. My children, I guess we inherited that all from him. But I also remember him doing paperwork in the wee hours of the morning and working nights and on the weekends. On a personal note, Dad had a great sense of humor. I remember one time when I think we were just married and we were playing Scrabble with Marcy, her family, Noel, and Paul at Marcy's house. And for some reason, I was able to get a wild card and call Dad for some advice on a word. He reminded me in his rules of Scrabble that acronyms were appropriate to use, and he explained to me on the phone that night that fornication under the command of the king is an acronym and not a dirty word. But Ethan, please don't use that in school, okay? Anyways, on a personal note, to wrap this up, Dad enjoyed playing catch and football and baseball, and we enjoyed going or watching a ball game. Until the 70s, he was still a better free throw shooter than I. When Mom was sick and afterwards, our relationship became stronger. I fondly remember his ability to go fishing even in his early 90s, working out at the gym, growing up, his love of America, hoping he could make his body stronger, and of course, all the lakes and ponds he had fished. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel, for your personal memories, fond memories, sometimes funny. Thank you. Wally was born July 24th, 1928 in Germany. Due to conditions in Germany at the time, with Jews not being allowed to attend public schools, he went to a Jewish school, which actually served him well, as the rabbi had the foresight to teach his students English. Consequently, when Wally and his family, he spoke English without a trace of German accent. His parents, grateful for their new life in America, quickly became Americanized. After graduating from Lane Technical High School, Wally first attended the University of Illinois, then at Navy Pier, and then graduated from Roosevelt University. Upon graduation, he demonstrated his gratitude to the United States by joining the Navy. Fortunately, he remained stateside. Fortuitously, Wally's being in the Navy played a part in his meeting June. Previously, they had both worked at Western Electric, but there were no sparks between them. When in the Navy, he took a weekend trip to Miami, Florida, where he met June again, and they hit it off this time, marrying on December 26, 1954. June and Wally had a remarkable love story that lasted until she died about 6 years ago. They adored each other. They were each other's best friends. They were devoted to each other, with their lives revolving around each other. What great role models for Joel and Debbie. The poem entitled To Those I Love by Ilsa Paschal Richardson talks about being thankful for happy memories and remembering a loved one. Debbie and Joel have asked me to read it as it seems appropriate for June and Wally and the great love they had for each other. To Those I Love by Isla Paschal Richardson. If I should ever leave you whom I love to go along the silent way, grieve not, nor speak of me with tears, but laugh and talk of me as if I were beside you there. I'd come, could I find a way, but would not tears and grief be barriers? And when you hear a song or see a bird I loved, please do not let the thought of me be sad, for I am loving you just as I always have. You were so good to me. There's so many things I wanted still to do, so many things to say to you. Remember that I did not fear. It was just leaving you that was so hard to face. We cannot see beyond, but this I know. I loved you so. 'Twas heaven here with you. If I should die and leave you here a while, be not like others, sore undone, who keep long vigils by the silent dust and weep. For my sake, turn again to life and smile, nerving thy heart and trembling hand to do something to comfort weaker hearts than thine. Complete these dear unfinished tasks of mine, and I perchance may therein comfort you. When we think of Wally, the first image that comes to mind is that of a fisherman. As Wally loved fishing, he loved the water and he loved boats. His 60th birthday present to himself was a boat. The poem entitled Gone Fishing by Delmar Pepper reminds us of his love of fishing, of relaxing in his boat, of being on the water, activities that were favorites of Wally's. Gone Fishing by Delmar Pepper. I've finished life's chores assigned to me, so put me on a boat headed out to sea. Please send along my fishing pole, for I've been invited to the fishing hole. where every day is a day to fish, to fill your heart with every wish. Don't worry or feel sad for me. I'm fishing with the master of the sea. We will miss each other for a while, but you will come and bring your smile. That won't be long, you will see, till we're together, you and me. To all of those that think of me, be happy as I go out to sea. If other wonders why I'm missing, just tell them I've gone fishing. And I now invite Debbie to share her memories of her dad. And it's up through page 12. Start here.
As Michelle might have mentioned, my dad reconnected with the love of his life, my mom June, who he called my Judy, while on leave in Miami Beach. It was clear they were very much in love the entire time they were together. They were always showing signs of affection, be it a peck on the cheek or just holding hands. They never quarreled unless my dad raised his voice to ask who moved my papers or my fishing stuff. Family was everything to my dad, enjoying his kids' sports, well, okay, Joel's sports, and taking the family on multiple fishing trips and vacations each year. The family fishing trips usually were accompanied by mom, sister, my Aunt Phyllis, and her late husband, Uncle Ben, and their children, Karen and Lori, as well as my mom's parents, Mimi and Papa. There were many fishing trips the entire family went on to Eagle River. In later years, Stephen and Lisa, my kids, would go with Rob and I on these trips. Dad did not have his own boat till his 60th birthday, but before then he always had a motor, schlepping it up and down to whatever boat he was renting. In addition to boating, Dad loved basketball. He loved playing, coaching in the Navy, and later coaching kids at the JCC. Dad would shoot baskets, swim, and do weights at the JCC well into his 80s. By the time Stephen was 10, he was eligible to go on the guys fishing overnight trips with Dad and Uncle Ben. Stephen eventually spent enough time on a boat in the hot sun to get to the point where he was basically done fishing. But that would not stop him from taking his pops fishing when he came in town to visit. Lisa also loved spending time with her papa. In later years, he would come to her and Mike's house for barbecues with us and their friends, being able to see him light up visiting with everyone and getting to share his stories. Later, Stephen and Lisa's kids, Hannah, Natalie, and Alex, loved going to see their Papa Wally. The girls, when they were younger, would say he was a funny guy. And Alex always got excited when we said we were going to see Papa Wally. Dad also liked swing music and Dixieland jazz. We finally remember seeing Dad and June cutting the rug with some fine swing moves on the dance floor of the Minnehaha on a jazz boat in Lake George. In later years, Dad liked sitting in his chair and listening to the swing channel and on TV and swing music on his Alexa. Dad was also very proud of his investing. Every week, he looked at his Barron's and called it doing his financial homework. He did that up until a few months ago, even though Joel, in the end, was doing more of the handling of stuff. His diligence resulted in a little nest egg that he wanted to be able to pass down to his children. Besides fishing and swing, Dad liked to make his kids and grandkids laugh, often telling them stories from his childhood and Navy days and jokes he made up. Some of the stories might have been as well. This is the thing many friends of Dad's expressed to the family that they will miss the most about Dad, his sense of humor and his desire to make people laugh. Dad was heartbroken and lost after Mom died, but he hung in there with the help of his family. I was glad that I was able to be there with him and help him break up the loneliness. I'm thankful for the rest of the family for pitching in as they could. Dad is irreplaceable, will be greatly missed. Whenever I left Dad, I always said I love you, and his reply was always I love you more. Well, now I get to say I love you more.
Thank you, Debbie, for your words. I now invite Stephen Debbie and Rob's son, to tell us his stories about going fishing with Wally. I think the truth now will come out.
It's hard to pick just one or two stories about fishing with Wally, but as my mom said, the trip on the Mississippi was pretty special. I went with him and Uncle Ben, and well, we call it a boat. It's really just a rowboat with a motor, and it certainly wasn't appropriate to be on a river with giant barges and bass boats, but that didn't stop them. And everyone talked about his love of fishing, but him and Ben also loved taking naps. And it wasn't a family event without them napping. And I remember at one point they were both tired. There was an island in the middle of the river, and Wally just decided he was going to take a nap. So he beached the boat, and him and Uncle Ben sat there and laid on the beach and took a nap while they left a little 10-year-old boy to run around an island in the middle of a river on his own. But it worked out. The other story I wanted to share, when I saw the Navy here today, it made me think of the time my friend came to Chicago, Jared, and we went fishing, and Wally, being Wally, had to find a funny way to wake us up. So he brought out his bugle and played reveille to wake us all up in the morning. Not something most people would do, but to Wally, that was just Wally being Wally. I finally got to pay him back this summer when I went to visit him at the nursing home. I found him asleep in his favorite chair, so I pulled that up on YouTube, played it as loud as I could on my phone, just to wake him up. At first he was surprised, but then he was happy to see me. And, I just wanted to pay him back after all those years, and I thought that was the appropriate way to wake him up. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Wally's Judaism was important to him. He was more ethically inclined than ritually inclined. He had attended Friday night and high holiday services, probably more for the social aspect of feeling part of a community. In your pamphlet, on the bottom of the bottom of the back page, is the Shema. The Shema is the most central prayer in Judaism, and we are going to read it in the English and then the transliteration in honor of Wally and to honor and remember his Jewish connection. Together, you may read with me if you wish. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Wally wasn't religious in terms of observing the rituals, but I am sure he knew what the Shema meant. Instead, he lived a life of Jewish values. He was a mensch, a responsible person of integrity, honor, morality, and dignity, with a strong sense of what is right and wrong. Those are the principles by which he ran his business, a wholesale toy business. He knew his inventory off the top of his head and never even categorized the business. He counted in his head, and instead of counting on his fingers, he counted on the air conditioning vents in his car, kind of like an abacus, for those of you who know what an abacus is. His sense of humor showed itself in his business. As the only employee, he made up names for fictitious staff personnel. The most memorable one was his made-up credit manager named Vince Court, short for Vincent Corleone. He was very intelligent with a great sense of humor. He often quoted Abraham Lincoln's saying, without necessarily attributing it to Abraham Lincoln, "Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and to remove all doubt." He used to tell Debbie that he had read the entire encyclopedia, not once, but twice. He loved to watch Jeopardy and would have won a championship if he had gone on the show. Another poem that Debbie and Joel requested I read is the poem, I Am Always With You, by an unknown author. This is a type of personal poem in which the unknown author expresses themselves and feels known, and for readers or listeners to gain insight about their loved ones. I Am Always With You by an unknown author. When I am gone, release me, let me go. I have so many things to see and do. You mustn't tie yourself to me with too many tears, but be thankful we had so many good years. I gave you my love, and you can only guess how much you've given me in happiness. I thank you for the love that you have shown, but now it is time I traveled on alone. So grieve for me a while, if grieve you must, and let your grief be comforted by trust that it is only for a while that we must part. So treasure the memories within your heart. I won't be far away, for life goes on. And if you need me, call and I will come. Though you can't see or touch me, I will be near. And if you listen with your heart, you'll hear all my love around you soft and clear. And then when you come this way alone, I'll greet you with a smile and a welcome home. We'll meet again. Wally may not have thought so, but he lived a successful life, a life in which his proudest accomplishment was his family. He would want to be remembered as a family man, a man who loved fishing, as a man who loved America. I'd like to read Ralph Waldo Emerson's version of a successful man, a man like Wally. I have modified the poem to capture Wally's mensch-like nature and love of fishing more accurately. Because You Have Lived by Ralph Waldo Emerson. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child or a fishing pond, with an amazing touch of catching bass. To know even when life has breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded. No one event can encapsulate a life. No one service can heal the pain of the loss of a loved one. The most to be hoped for is as each stage of the journey is a step towards living life again, a step in favor of love and vitality and the beauty of the world and the people around us. The late Leo Buscaglia once said that it takes a minute to find a special person, an hour to appreciate them, a day to love them, but then an entire life to forget them. May we never forget Walter as we continue our individual journeys connected by his spirit. May each of us continue to honor his memory in our own way with our own special remembrances of him. In our remembering him, we acknowledge that we each are who we are today because we knew Wally Selan. Memory itself is a living metaphor for life. In this world, we are given pain, but we are also given memory to change that pain to laughter, to joy, to keep Wally in our lives, to comfort us, to make us understand, by this living metaphor, the power of memory. In all seasons, we will remember you, Wally. We shall remember the times of joy. We shall remember the times of pain. We shall remember those quiet times of peace. And we shall remember the grief of parting. In all emotions, we remember you, Wally, for the examples lived among us, for the lessons taught and learned, for the concern felt about us, for the love shared with us, for all reasons. The 23rd Psalm can give us the reason to continue and the courage to move ahead when we tell ourselves we would rather give in. It tells us that God is with us in both the joyful and difficult times. God's presence is shown by giving us the shepherd's rod and staff, which we interpret as faith and hope. Faith that God is all good and everything is for the best. Hope to hope for a better tomorrow and to find the way to carry on. God never promised us that life would be fair. God only promised us that when we go through those unfair times, we would not be alone. The 23rd Psalm speaks to that promise. And I invite you to join me in reading it from your service folder if you wish. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. Many people call the Jewish Kaddish prayer a prayer for the dead, but nowhere does it mention death. However, there is another prayer that speaks of how the soul, having sojourned in the physical world, is now restored to the everlasting source of life, to the continuum of being, reality, and holy presence. May the source of life, the fountain of all being, open our hearts to compassion and our eyes to wisdom, that we might glimpse in perfect peace and sadness the way of all things. May the memory of Walter Selan be for us a blessing, and may we never let the light of his life, his love, grow dim in our hearts. May we remember all his worthy and righteous deeds. May the bond of love we shared with our beloved Wally never be severed in sorrow. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. You can start. As the casket is lowered, let us take a few private moments to say goodbye to Wally, to think of him as you remember him, to remember the honest, ethical, intelligent, hardworking man with high moral standards, a man who focused his energies on creating a good life for his children, a man who loved fishing. Let us never forget the impact he had on your life. Loving memory is our greatest tribute. Goodbye to our dear Wally with the big heart. We know we are all better for having known him. We are profoundly grateful that Wally lived. We are grateful that we saw his face and felt the glow of his friendship and his love.
When you're done, I want the mic.
Oh, okay. Well,
All right.
go ahead. Right now.
Like I said, my name is Zach. I'm his grandson. I just want to say thank you very much for the name you gave my family. That means a lot. Thank you and Grandma June for everything. You guys gave me, my sister, a ton. You also gave my parents a lot. Thank you guys for everything. And I just want to say that I'm a little old. I'm 34. And one of the things I looked to as a kid was going to my grandpa's basement and grandma's because there's a toy store. The only issue was as I got older, the toys stayed the same. But it was always cool with that. I just am forever grateful for everything that you and Grandma did for me. Even the good looks I got from you guys, so thank you. You guys, I'm going to miss you guys a lot, but I'm going to do the best I can to represent the Selan name, especially because I traveled a long way to get here. So I will do my best to represent that name. Thank you for everything.
Thank you very much for your heartfelt words about your grandparents. Goodbye to our dear Wally with the big heart. We know we are all better for having known him. We are profoundly grateful that Wally lived. We are grateful that we saw his face and felt the glow of his friendship and his love. We cherish the memory of his words, his deeds, and his character. Carrying him thus in our hearts, we can proceed from this place in comfort and in peace, assured that even in this time of loss and sorrow, life remains precious and good. May we also on this day rekindle in our hearts an appreciation of the gifts of life and of other persons. As we prepare to recite the Kaddish, we are reminded that this prayer never mentions death, but we use it to remember our death. We use it as a legacy to remember our loved ones who are gone. We insist on saying that life is good and worth living, and we insist on holding fast fast to our dreams and ideals of what life could be in the best of all possible words. I invite you to rise if you can and wish to recite the Kaddish, first in the English, then in the transliteration. Exalted and hallowed be God's greatness in this world of your creation. May your will be fulfilled and your sovereignty revealed in the days of our lifetime, and let us say Amen. May you be blessed forever, praised and honored, extolled and glorified, adored and exalted above all else. You are blessed beyond all blessings and hymns, praises and adorations that may be uttered in this world, and let us say Amen. May abundant peace descend from heaven with life's goodness for us and for all the world, and let us say Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, and let us say Amen. And you have the transliteration of the Hebrew in your pamphlets. Again, follow along if you wish to. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam omei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalel shemei dekucha barichu le'ela min kol b'chata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata damiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. It is a Jewish custom for all those gathered at the gravesite to shovel some earth onto the grave of the deceased. This is called a chesed shel emet, a true kindness, the highest level of kindness, a kindness that can never be repaid. In a moment, I will invite all who wish to do so to participate in this mitzvah. Let us honor the life of Wally Selan by living our lives with honesty and with courage, by living more nobly and lovingly in the days ahead. As you return to the routines of your lives, go in love, and may an abiding peace go with you. This concludes our service celebrating the life of Walter Selan. Thank you all for coming. I now invite you who wish to do so to shovel some earth onto his grave.
No, but that's what Dad burned my peanut bottle to. Then you make just a peanut bottle. I wanted your baseball trip. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I don't know, was it in Boston or Dr. Boston?